just a random thing that happened. I was really agitated and upset. And I just said, okay, let me think what would Ashley would do. And
I love it. Okay.
literally I said, okay, I'm going to invite this agitation as my guest. I'm really going to enter this feeling and really see what it's trying to tell me, what's going on. And I'm telling you, it really works because normally, when you you have a bad morning or something happens and the entire day you just carry that with you because you're suppressing it.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
instead of suppressing it, I was like, I kind of embraced it. I kind of talked over with agitation and what was bothering me. And I just let it go. And I felt lighter and I felt so much
Right.
better. And it was like I had completely changed my mind frame for the rest of the day.
My mission is to empower women to fearlessly embrace and live their authentic lives.
In today's episode, we will delve into the profound significance of embracing and acknowledging the full spectrum of our emotions, both positive and negative. We will unveil the detrimental consequences that arise from suppressing our feelings in an attempt to project strength, ultimately causing harm to ourselves. Throughout my life, I have frequently encountered the phrase, "You are so strong." However, what does it truly mean to be strong? Is strength synonymous with feigning happiness in the face of sorrow? Does it entail stifling our tears and refusing to shed a single drop when our hearts are shattered? Does it imply shutting off our thoughts and denying ourselves the freedom to think? Or does it involve shouldering burdens alone, refusing to seek assistance when overwhelmed? On the contrary, genuine strength lies in acknowledging our emotions and granting ourselves permission to explore them fully. It takes immense strength to admit when we are not feeling strong and instead confront those profoundly difficult emotions. I have been in that place before. Within my family, I'm constantly regarded as the epitome of strength, the one everyone believes can handle everything. Undoubtedly, I possess strength, but I'm also undeniably human and susceptible to moments when I must remove the superhero mask and openly confess that I just feel wounded, and that's okay. No one should face judgment for their vulnerability. Instead, we must unite to support one another. Today, I have Ashley Bernardi on my show. She's a media expert and trainer, life coach, and entrepreneur. Ashley is the founder of Nardi Media, a nationally renowned full-service media relations and media training firm. She's a former network television producer with credits including The Early Show on CBS News, Energy Now, and Bloomberg and Washington Post. She has gone through a lot. There was a moment that there was a traumatic death of her father at a young age and the diagnosis of Lyme disease and postpartum depression after the birth of her third child, deepened her passion for health, wellness, spirituality, and taught her how to access her own authentic power to heal her life. She's a certified life designer and received her certificate in the service of well-being from Yale University. In addition, she hosts the award-winning podcast, Two Girls Talking. Ashley is also the author of a great book, Authentic Power, Give Yourself Permission to Feel. In this book, she completely reveals herself through daily affirmations and writing prompts, and teaches us that our darkest hours are disguised opportunities for us to uncover, process, feel, heal, and grow. Ashley, I'm so excited to have you on my show today. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Pearl, and thank you for that wonderful intro. And I'm just so excited to be here and have a conversation with you.
Thank you. So Ashley, if you can, unfortunately, take us back to that horrible night when you were 11 years old and you witnessed your father's death. What happened?
Yes, and that's truly where my story begins. And to set everyone up who's listening, I come from a very proud military family. My father was an Army colonel, so my entire life, even prior to his death, we were all told to be strong like him. He was a stoic, decorated war veteran and, rose the ranks in the military at a very young age. He was also my confidant, my best friend, my playmate. There was a serious side to him. I didn't see that serious side. I saw the fun dad side. And that was such a gift. And so we were a close-knit family. There was my mom and my dad and my sister, my little sister and I. And we had moved. I was born in Germany. We lived in California and ended up in DC, where he had worked at the Pentagon and also on a military base. So we had a well-established network and community where we lived. And there was one night when I remember we had gone to church that day. And then we decided to watch a family movie, which was Jaws. And my dad was feeling really tired. And normally my mom and him would tuck us into bed, but that night he just put himself to bed and I tucked him into bed. Oh, and gosh. The last words that I said to him were, "I love you." And he said, "I love you too." And those were the last words that we ever spoke to each other. From there, what unfolded was a very traumatic incident that I will say I used to never be able to talk about. It wasn't until I went through my own healing journey with Lyme disease was I able to share this. But essentially my mom gave me a kiss goodnight, and we heard a sound coming from my parents' room, and it sounded like my dad was moaning. And my mom ran in and started screaming, get help, call 911. So at the time, this was 1995, we had a phone downstairs. We have a landline. There's no cell phones. I was 11 years old. My little sister was 9. I ran downstairs. I called 911. My fingers just stumbled over the phone because I just didn't know what was happening. And I, gave them directions to my house, said something was wrong with my dad. And I even kind of relive it when I tell the story too. And I just remember after that, I ran to get help at the neighbor's house. And that's kind of where I didn't really know what was going to happen after that. What I found out later was that my 9-year-old sister and my mom were tag teaming CPR on my dad while I was running out to get help. And that was, I didn't even find that out until years later. So I just remember all my neighbors gathering around. My mom goes in the ambulance. Everyone's like, "Your dad's going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine." And I was like, wow, what a story I'm going to have to tell my friends at school tomorrow. I'm in 6th grade. And we get to the hospital, and thankfully, living in the DC region, we did have a lot of family here on both sides of the family. And people just started showing up. My dad's sister, my dad's brother, my uncle, aunts from my mom's side of the family. And we were all ushered into this, really pretty pink, peaceful looking weight room. And we were like, okay, when do I get to see dad? And it was a while. And several moments later, my mom and my dad's sister, my Aunt Barbie, came in, and I can't even describe the look on their face, but I just remember my mom kneeled down to both of us and held our hands and told us that our father had passed away. And that moment just rocked my world. It changed my life forever. I would have never had suspected it or guessed it. And that's really where my story begins and where my life changed.
I mean, I've read this about your whole story, and you telling it again, I can actually I got goosebumps. I can feel your emotions. I'm imagining I have an 11-year-old son, so I can't even imagine. I mean, I lost my dad actually in November, and that was really hard on my kids, but he had cancer. But even that, when I got the phone call, as an adult from my mom telling me that he's gone, it was so hard to take. So I can't even imagine how you process this. I'm so sorry. So it seems like you were saying you had so much support system, so many people around you. Were you able to process this and actually as a child or as a teenager talk to family or a therapist, or you just decided, no, I'm strong?
Yeah, that's the irony and the interesting part of this. Despite having a strong family network and having access to grief counselors, I was not ready or willing to talk about it. I remember entering high school, I had friends, and even my first boyfriend, I didn't even tell anyone that my dad died. It was just kind of like he wasn't around. And then finally there was like, someone found out, and I just would not talk about it. And that's despite people wanting to help me. It just, the little inner child in me, little Ashely, was, those emotions were way too scary.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was going to happen when they came out.
Right.
So what I did instead was I buried them for years and years and years. And what happens, well, what I discovered, what happens when you bury your emotions is that they come out in other ways. Like for me, it came out in dishonesty and people pleasing and complete lack of boundaries and destructive relationship with alcohol, like just really an overall like lack of awareness, because I was not giving myself permission to even be aware of what I was feeling. I became absorbed with what everybody else was feeling because my feelings were way too scary. And, it's so funny in the beginning, like how you, in your introduction, you said, we talk about how like, oh, we're so strong. It's the original title of my book was Not So Strong, because it's such a pet peeve. It became such a pet peeve of mine, and I still get it. And it's okay. Like, sure, I look strong on the outside, but really on the inside, there's often times when I am not feeling so strong. And so, yes, that's what it was like growing up. And that all came to a head again when I was faced with my own health crisis.
Right. Can you tell us, was that in 2014 when you became extremely sick?
Yes. So trying to think of the years, because I was pregnant. I have 3 little kids at home, and I was pregnant with the third one. So I became sick, and it was 2014. Trying to think, 2014, and it was kind of like a mystery illness. Like I lost my appetite. I like felt like I had flu-like symptoms and just was not feeling good, and it kept progressing. Then I got pregnant with my third daughter, and my immune system kind of went quiet, and I was feeling okay again. And it wasn't literally the day that I delivered her in 2015 was when every single symptom that I had been feeling just came back and just seemed to attack my entire body. And I can paint a picture of what that looks like, but I lost my vision. I would see flashing lights in my vision. I wouldn't be able to go out to stores because everything was moving. If I saw any patterns, they would just start moving. I had immense nerve pain, body pain, no appetite. I had lost control of my bowels, and I'm a 5'7" woman who got down to 110 pounds, which is very unhealthy. And it wasn't because I was trying to lose weight. And so because of that, I was also really, really depressed. I had seen so many doctors. I mean, truly up to like 30 doctors, and doctors who were telling me, oh, you're just a mom of 3 young kids. Go see a psychiatrist. Go see a psychiatrist. Go see a psychiatrist. You're just stressed. You have anxiety. And I just was like, no, that's not it. And just to like paint a picture of how bad it was, there was one time I was at the doctor's office to getting some blood work and being examined by a doctor, and I just started blacking out and lost my vision again and lost control of my bowels just right there. And I think my pulse had increased, and I just lost it. And they ended up calling an ambulance from the doctor's office to take me to the hospital.
Wow.
And God, that was like I had many rock bottom moments, but that's the one that sticks out that I do write about in the book. And I remember my mom came to the hospital. My husband came to the hospital. No one knew what to do with me because my blood work looked normal. So I was just put on more like, I want to say they're like tranquilizers, but more antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications, and just sent home. And at that point, I was so sick. I told my husband, take the kids to your parents. I can't even do anything. And I remember getting up out of bed and just like falling onto the floor. And like, that was the moment where I realized I was grieving my health. I was calling out to God, like, come on, like, let's go, take me now. If this is what my life's going to be like, cause I don't want to live it. or like just do something. And that was the first time where I felt this pang. I felt this feeling of like, oh my God, I'm not just grieving my health, I'm grieving my dad. Like the feeling that was in there, like was in there. It all started coming out. And I was like, what is this? But for the first time ever, I gave myself permission to just go and feel that emotion. So all the emotions. And
so was that the turning point, you would say, or?
yeah, that was the point where the first time I gave myself permission to grieve for my dad in an authentic way. You know, like, of course, like my dad had the funeral and all the things at the nice cemetery and the reception. But that was me putting on a stoic mask, which I call the mask of strength, which we all wear. That's a human protection. And thank God we have that. It's a way to protect ourselves. But in this case, that mask was removed, and I was just so sick that that mask had nowhere to go anymore. So it just melted and all the feelings started coming out. So yes, it was a turning point of a very long journey after that too.
Oh my goodness. So what inspired you to write your book, Authentic Power? Give yourself permission to feel.
Yeah, I think thank you for asking that. It was actually the pandemic when the world started shutting down. And at that point, I had been a fully healed, fully evolved person. I was a completely different person then than I was all those years ago. At that point, it had been about 4 or 5 years ago, where I had healed myself and restored my health. Yes, and I always say yes, like the physical work was probably 20% of it, because I was eventually diagnosed with Lyme disease and postpartum depression, got a PICC line, but the 80% of it was spiritual and emotional healing that needed to happen. And that's the work that I did. Journaling, meditation, breath work, stress reduction, mindfulness, so many techniques that I talk about in the book. So when the world started shutting down, I started to feel very familiar feelings start bubbling up again. Feelings of grief. I lost a friend in March of 2020, very early on in the pandemic, who was like younger than me. And you start hearing of death everywhere.
It was a horrible time.
It was a horrible time for everyone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the collective trauma we're all going through. But I felt strongly that I knew what to do. I was like, I know how to do this. And every single day, I'll never forget, I got on my yoga mat in this office down here before my kids woke up, and I cried and I did yoga and I prayed and I meditated every single day without fail. And knowing that the world was crumbling around us, and giving myself permission to move through those really terrifying, scary emotions. And that's where I was like, wait a second. I feel like I figured something out here that I can teach others. And it's that it's safe. Our emotions are safe. Our human emotions are meant to be felt. We're not meant to hold emotions back, even anger. That's why it's like when they say, like, do some kickboxing if you have anger, because you physically can just release it from your body. Very somatic experience of releasing emotions through the power of energy and even talk and meditation. And so it was actually through a meditation with my own life coach that I felt like I needed to at least write out my experience, and then also talk to the people who helped me along the way, because I certainly did not. Yes, I give myself credit. I helped heal myself, but I was so blessed with so many angelic beings around me here, but also I believe in the spirit realm, to support my healing journey. So that's where this book was born. It was born out of feeling those familiar feelings and feeling called to share my story in hopes to help and inspire others who are going through difficult times. Maybe it's your own illness, Lyme disease, cancer, or a family member's, or loss, or maybe you're grieving a death or even a divorce. It could be anything. And what I've learned is that when you give yourself permission to move through those feelings, that's really where the healing happens. So that's what inspired me to write the book.
I'm so glad you did.
Thank
It was a
you.
great book. With it being, do you feel like a lot of the part you started to heal because you were able to embrace? I mean, I know you were able to feel, but also embrace your authentic power. I mean, what does authentic power mean to you personally?
Yes, personally, and thank you for asking that. I want to say this authentic power, which is the title of the book, this is whatever we define. I see it as that wisdom that we all have within us. Forever, I knew I had buried those emotions within me. And it wasn't until I started listening to them that, and it was like the universe, and I wish this on no one, that the universe slapped me on the face and was like, hey, we're going to give you this crazy illness so you can't do anything, because I've always been an energizer bunny. I'll do anything to just like bat away like what I'm feeling in my past. But that is accessing your authentic power, is that wisdom and that voice that exists within all of us.
All of us.
You already have the answers. You already have the answers. That's the message that I want to share. You have your authentic power. Once you take away all the noise, all the social media, all the societal and cultural expectations, and get quiet within, and you can listen, you can access your authentic power through journaling, through an act that I call sacred writing, which I talk about in my book, through meditation, but getting quiet and still and asking yourself, how is my heart feeling today? What is it that I need today? And really listening to that answer that you're getting back. And you might not get anything, you might feel a sensation, but paying attention and having that awareness. And that is really what I see as authentic power. It's that voice, that inner wisdom, that inner knowing that exists within all of us. And now that I've accessed it, I mean, like I am so quick to be like, oh, this is how I feel today. I feel this, and I'm aware of what I need. Ashely, the inner child in Ashely, the physical Ashely, the spiritual Ashely. The more, it's like a muscle, the more you flex it, the better you get at it. So now I'm really good at it, and I keep getting better at it.
I love it. I think that's totally true. I think once you're able to find this power, you can kind of, anytime you feel like you're kind of spiraling down, you can go back and say, okay, wait, I can do this. What's wrong with me? And really acknowledge what's happening. Now with your book, there was a part that you said that I really liked, that you said, your mess is your masterpiece. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh my gosh. Oh yes. So I am also, by day, I own Nardi Media, which is a bustling PR firm. So I do a lot of media training, and I tell people now, and even in my personal life, your message, your masterpiece, right? So my mess, when I like I said, I would never wish what happened to me on anyone, but I now call what happened to me the gift of Lyme. And I am so grateful that it did happen to me, because my life has changed in exponential ways, and almost like taking a quantum leap, some would call it, that I healed myself, and now I'm able to teach others and share my story with others. So if you're looking to inspire people, teach people, or motivate people, start by sharing your own story. Your mess is your message. My mess of Lyme, my sickness of Lyme is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and it gave me so much perspective. It helped me finally grieve my father's death, and really truly learn how to access my authentic power. So that I would encourage for anyone to try at any time. Try it today. So yes, that's like where all this came from.
You know, it's exactly, I mean, I think you're such an inspirational, because you have actually done where you've taken your trauma and really, like you stated, transformed it into something so positive, and you're inspiring other people who are in similar situations like yourself. So that's so inspiring. That's amazing.
Thank you. And I'll share what that looks like now, if that's okay, because
Of course.
my father died, gosh, I think now it's 28 years ago. And what I have found is I used to never put pictures of him anywhere because it was too painful. Now there are pictures of him not littered, but just everywhere, all over my house. He is front and center, the only photographs in my family room. And for the first time ever, I also in the past couple of years started visiting his gravesite on a regular basis. So I have found ways to have relationships with him even in death, of thanking him for giving me life, of having the pictures of him and knowing that like he still lives within me, he lives within my children, and we keep his memory alive. And yes, loss is so hard and it's so sad, and grief is a dance. And there are some days where it feels like I lost him yesterday, and there are some days where it feels like I never even had a dad, and then there's some days where it feels like he passed away years ago. It's different. Grief will always come and go. It ebbs and flows, and I've learned to dance with it, that if I'm feeling like I'm missing him and I'm like, why am I missing him, I just give myself permission to just freaking miss my dad. And that feels good to do. That feels safe and supportive for me to do for me. And so it's very different, but it's very nourishing and healing and even hopeful.
And that's so liberating to just give yourself that freedom to actually, this is the time I need to grieve. I need to be sad. That's really good.
It's that permission. It's giving yourself that permission.
Permission. Exactly. So what about when we get into that mood of like excessive fear, worry, despair, stress, and you call that the emotional fog? What do you do to change your frequency and lift that emotional fog?
I love that. So yes, because there's all the emotions, right? Like I get worried about my kids. Like I get worried, I have anxiety about this. So I actually have something called the feel framework that I realized I had started practicing. And then when I put it together, I was like, oh my gosh, this actually like, it works. So if you're feeling worry, stress, anxiety, first of all, acknowledge it's okay. Like, hi, hello, you're right there. So my feel framework is first focus on that emotion. What's the emotion that you're feeling? I'm feeling worried. I'm feeling stressed because I'm feeling anxious because sometimes you feel this feeling like anxiety and you don't know why too. Sometimes you can't even identify the feeling. That's okay. Acknowledge that there's something here and I'm going to focus on it and pay attention to it because maybe it's here to teach me something. So focus. Next is, this is the scary part, and this is what I used to not do. Enter within that emotion. Give yourself permission to feel that emotion, however it may look. Maybe it's like you're angry, but you start laughing. You're crying, but it could be anything, but just, whew, what does that worry feel like? And maybe it's like like shaking yourself or whatever you feel called to do. Writing. I talk about dish therapy in the book where you can safely smash a dish. Whatever you do, you feel like you're called to do in a safe and supportive way. That also goes into experiencing that emotion. Give yourself permission, time to experience it. It could be 30 seconds. It could be a minute. I'm not talking like you need to take 30 minutes to experience it. But give yourself that time, the gift of time to experience that emotion and let yourself sit with that emotion. Maybe it's literally just sitting for 30 seconds, closing your eyes and saying, okay, this is a really uncomfortable emotion. And that's the thing, like we don't want to feel uncomfortable feelings. That's why I buried my dad's trauma forever, because I was like, I do not want to feel this grief. I am already suffering from this loss and whatever is going on in here, way too scary. But what I've learned is that when you take the time to give yourself that gift of human emotion that's like a God-given birthright, then that's where the healing happens. So you experience it, you explore that emotion. And then finally is L, so FEEL, listen, learn, and love that emotion back. What is that emotion here trying to tell you? What is it trying to teach you? And then love it. Thank you, emotion. Thank you, worry, for being here. You're my protector. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative of it. And maybe you journal afterwards. And the last thing is notice how you feel after. You might feel the same right in that moment, like, oh, it didn't go away. But by moving through this feel framework, you'll notice that there's more of a growth, healing, strengthening of the inner authentic power mindset that starts to happen. And what I've noticed that when I move through that, the next day I'm like, oh, remember that thing I was worried about? I think I've moved through that and I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Right.
Remember I allowed myself to grieve for my dad yesterday? Yeah, I'm in a different mindset today. Like you just start to move into a very authentic place and a safe place for your spirit and body to live in.
I actually, after I read this, I decided I'm going to give this a shot. I was inspired by you, the field framework. And
Yes.
I just did it. I didn't do it in such depth, but it was just, I think, just a random thing that happened. I was really agitated and upset. And I just said, okay, let me think what would Ashley would do.
I
And
love it. Okay.
literally I said, okay, I'm going to invite this agitation as my guest. I'm really going to enter this feeling and really see what it's trying to tell me, what's going on. And I'm telling you, it really works, because normally, you know, when you are like, you have a bad morning or something happens and the entire day, you just carry that with you because you're suppressing it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So instead of suppressing it, I was like, I kind of embraced it. I kind of talked over with agitation and what was bothering me. And I just let it go. And I felt lighter and I felt so much
Right.
better. And it was like, I had completely changed my mind frame for the rest of the day.
That's right.
So I highly, I recommend others, if you're listening, to really use this, because this actually works, and it's a quick way. And if you want to get more in depth with it, you can write about it, you can meditate it, but it's a quick, easy way to kind of change your frequency when you need to, and really acknowledge those feelings.
That's right. Moving through those feelings is, I'm so glad that you did this and that you tried it, and you're a testament that it works. But that's exactly right. Giving yourself permission to move through those feelings eventually lets them kind of disperse into a cloud in the sky and keep moving along, right? Because
Right.
you know, uncomfortable feelings, they're always going to come and go, and we are trained to suppress them in our society. And I truly think that's what's contributing to a lot of our mental health problem, is that we're not talking about how we're really feeling. That's not so much to complain or to vent, but it's really to be like, I feel upset today because, and being honest about that. And I think it's important, you know, I wish we could see like more workplaces giving
Right.
people permission to like take breaks and like move through their whatever they're feeling with their emotions in the first half of the day, move through them, and then finish up the second half of the day having moved through that, letting it go. But you're right, when we oftentimes, if like you have a crappy morning, you spill coffee, you're late, da da da, it sets the tone for the
On
rest
for the
of the
day.
day. And if you want to have that midday reset or even morning reset, stop, feel framework, give yourself 5 minutes to move through it and see how you feel after.
Exactly. And just like you said, we are in a society where we are not really supposed to show our emotions. I mean, I think social media is a prime example. You go on social media and everyone's having the perfect life and everything's okay, and you really have no idea what's going on behind those closed doors. Like, there's been times that I've spoken to somebody and they're telling me all these horrible things that are happening, and then when I go on their page, it's like you would never know. So you can't even judge by looking and thinking, oh, everyone is having this perfect life. But we just are trained to just show that everything is just right. Everything is fine.
That's right. We've been trained, and I want to break that societal conditioning. And I think that was another motivation for writing my book. Like, all around me, all my life, I've been told that I'm strong. You're so strong. You're so resilient. And so, of course, you're told that as a child, and you're like, yep, I sure am. I'm a soldier. I'm stoic. I've got no emotions. And like, even in our military, they're taught to be stoic. At work, we're taught to be emotionless. And it's just not how we're supposed to human. And I truly believe that. And I want to break that cycle. And I'm hoping that by this book is one of the steps that we can get there to break the cycle.
Yes, for sure. I think it's going to be helpful. Now, Ashley, can you give us some tips of how to connect to our inner self, or with all the challenges that we get daily, how can we be more resilient to handle these challenges? What tools do you have?
Yes. Okay. So many. The one that actually intuitively came to me for this conversation is sacred writing, which I actually learned from my dear spiritual mentor, Leanne Taylor. She wrote the incredible book, A Fragile Face of God, which I highly, highly recommend. And as I was going through my healing journey, I would work with her, and she taught me something called sacred writing, where you essentially ask your spirit or your spirit guides, any question that you want, or maybe it's even like your inner self, your higher self. And it starts by just getting a pen and paper. It's so easy. And you just take a couple minutes and get really, really quiet. And if you're looking for some answers, if you have a question you want to ask to your higher self, you write something like, Dear higher self, What is it that I need to know today? Something as simple as that. And then you just like doodle until something starts coming. And maybe the first couple of times you're going to be like, Ashley, this is stupid. Because I used to be like that. I'd be like, oh my God, please. I'm a practical like TV producer, but no, it works. And so I would start doing it, and then I would start getting messages from my higher power. Sometimes it would tap into my dad or my grandparents, and just knowing that you are so loved and supported beyond the physical world. And this is me getting woo-woo, but I truly do believe that we are all so loved and supported. And Leanne always taught me that, in this life, we see what we see physically. You're only, imagine like a flashlight, and you're shining that flashlight. You're only seeing what that flashlight's showing. And there's no way physically that we could turn the lights on. But if you did, you would see this incredible, loving, supportive world of beings around you, wanting to help guide you. And so sacred writing is something I did so much of. I have journals everywhere, like a whole stack here of me accessing my higher self and source and spirit beyond the physical world. And that was so supportive and healing for me, because I was like, wow, when we feel alone, which a lot of us do in the United States, there's actually, it's proven, if there's a loneliness epidemic in the United States, if you're feeling alone, the one thing you can do is, first of all, remember that you are not alone. You are loved and supported by divine beings, including your higher self, and you can access their wisdom and even your own higher power wisdom through the act of sacred writing.
That is so powerful. That's really amazing.
That's what I would encourage you to try next.
I think that's a great tool. Thank you so much. Ashley, as I read in your bio too, that you're also a certified life designer. Can you tell us more what that means?
Yes. A certified life designer is a life coach. So being a journalist, I have a very curious personality. I like to ask a lot of questions, especially when things are working. And while I was going through my healing journey, I worked with a life coach. She's my dear, dear friend, Julie Riesler. And if you don't know her, you should absolutely know her and follow her. She's the founder of the Life Designer Coaching Academy. So I went through, she actually helped life coach me. And what I love about life coaching is that the coach is not supposed to replace like a therapist or give you advice. Right. What the coach does is reflect back to you what they're hearing you say, and help you see things in a way that you might not be seen before. There's a lot of reflection, and then there's also action items that you take. So I was like, wow, this life coaching thing is really working for me. It actually is what helped me write this, come to realize that I had this book in me, and I still am like, oh my God, I can't believe it's like, this was a meditation and here it is in the physical form, which is wild. So I was like, I got to do this. I got to learn how you do this, Julie. This is like beyond next level. So I went through her coaching academy and I loved it. There was so much, even more personal growth and transformation. And now it's a service that I offer even within my PR firm, because I find that when people come to PR, there's so many limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. Do you think I'll get booked on TV? Da, 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 da. And so I'm like, wait, let's back up. Let's do a life coaching session and really talk about what these feelings are, and let's reframe them and look at them in a way that feels safe and supportive for you. So I'm grateful to offer that as well now, and kind of experience that changed me for the better so much. And I truly believe everyone should have a life coach or be a life coach. It's just such a gift to the world.
Thank you. That's great. No, I'm actually a life coach myself, so I can completely relate, but I've never heard it as a life designer, which I actually really love. I think that's really true, because it puts the whole package together and it really makes sense. So
exactly.
That's another great thing that you offer. So that's amazing. So this has been such a pleasure. I honestly cannot fathom the profound experiences you endured as a child, including the loss of your father, and later in life navigating postpartum challenges, as well as being diagnosed with Lyme disease in your 30s. However, your resilience as a trauma survivor is nothing short of remarkable, as you exemplify the transformative power of utilizing your trauma to forge a positive path in your life. You cherish each day, having learned invaluable methods to navigate the emotional haze that occasionally engulfs us all during life's most arduous moments or when we think about traumatic events that have happened in the past. I must emphasize that reading your book, and I have it right here, Authentic Power, Give Yourself Permission to Feel, was an incredibly enlightening experience for me personally. Every page was filled, as you can see, that I've highlighted. I'm a highlighter, but with profound insights. So then I just went ahead and really, really highlighted the passages that were my favorites. I wholeheartedly recommend obtaining a copy for yourself, as it provides a comprehensive journey with affirmations and thought-provoking writing prompts. This book honors our emotions and sternly warns us against suppressing those challenging feelings. Instead, it empowers us to reclaim our inner strength by wholeheartedly embracing our authentic emotions. Ashley, it's truly been an honor having you on my podcast today. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Oh, I just want to say thank you for taking this time to speak with me for the past 45 minutes. And what a gift it has been to have this conversation. And I hope that your viewers and your listeners have taken away some good nuggets too. For anyone that's interested, just visit my website. They want to learn more about my book. My website is Ashley, Ashley Bernardi, BERNARDI.com. And Authentic Power is available wherever books are sold.
That's wonderful. We will share all the links in our show notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at @PearlMashSure, a Female Fluence, on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you're in need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pearl Mashsure. Until we talk next time.